Welcome to Learning with Dr. Linda. Today we're going to be learning on a new topic on the management functions. This is Dr. Linda. You could subscribe to our channel. So you're going to allow me to present my PowerPoint. Yes, that is my name, a lecturer at Kenyatta University, School of Business, Economics and Tourism. If you're joining us in this platform for the very first time, this is a platform where we learn about many things. We learn on management, we learn on change management, entrepreneurship skills, among other topics. So for a series of lessons, I'm going to be taking you through the 5 management functions, and we're going to be starting off with the first management function, which is the planning function of management. Yes, so I'm getting my, yes. So when you think about management function, planning in particular, management, just as a recap, is that process of achieving organizational goals in an effective and efficient manner. Definitely, every manager wants to ensure that they are achieving their goals in a manner that is effective and efficient. Effective is all about goal achievement. Efficient is achieving that goal using the least resources. So how does the manager utilize the resources within an organization to be able to achieve their goals in a manner that is timely, in a manner that utilizes the resources in an optimal way? So one of the ways in which managers are able to do that is through doing the 5 functions of management. That is the planning, the organizing, directing, staffing, and controlling. Now, these management functions were initiated by one of the classical theorists, Henry Fayol, who came up with 14 principles of management, and also who developed the different functions of management so that managers can be able to know how they can organize tasks in order to achieve the goals in an effective and efficient manner. So these are the 5. We start with the planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. And as you can see, they're in a circular motion, meaning this is a system, is a process that keeps on feeding onto each other. So the planning process feeds onto the organizing, the staffing, the directing, and the controlling in that way. And when you look at the controlling, we're just trying to see, did we actually achieve that which we had planned for? So, what is to plan? Planning is looking ahead. There are some people who talk of planning, and one of the things that they say is failure to plan is planning to fail. So, as an organization, you really need to be able to plan. And one of the things that I would really emphasize is every human being is an entity by themselves. So I am an entity, and because I am an entity, it means even the 5 functions of management could actually apply to me as an individual. So even as we go through this, it's important to not only look at planning from an organizational perspective, but rather also from the perspective of an individual perspective. To what extent can I use some of these principles for me to be more effective and efficient in what I do? So planning is the process of determining what is to be done, how it will be done, who will do it, and when it will be done. So if you're able to answer these 4 critical questions, and even more importantly, why is it being done? Why are we doing that? And then once you've understood why we are doing this, you have to understand what is being done, how is it being done, who will do it, and when will it be done. Simon Sinek talks about the golden circle. And in the golden circle, there are those 3 levels where we start with the why, the what, and the how. I would encourage you to interact with that golden circle as part of learning how to plan. So planning today helps to avoid crisis tomorrow, and it has to be undertaken in advance so that you can be able to take care of problems as they come. So what is involved in planning? Now, when you think about planning, the first step is to come up with objectives, is to identify the goals, is to identify the vision, is to come up with that big goal. And when you think about the plans, plans are made at different levels, as you're going to be seeing in our next slide. But you're going to have plans that conceptual plans, and the conceptual plans are the big plans about the future and the vision of the organization. Then we have the tactical plans. The tactical plans are the mid-level kind of plans that you break this big plan and you have tactical or strategic plans on how you're going to achieve those goals. And then we have the operational plans. These are the day-to-day plans that are all geared to the big plan, but they're the small things that you can do every day. So one of the things that you need to find out is, what is my objective? If it is an organization, could it be my objective is to have a certain sales volume by the end of the year? Could it be that my objective is to have a certain market share by the end of the year? Could it be that I would want to have a certain customer base? Could it be that I would want to have some of the information systems set up in my organization? So the plans could be of different kinds, and they could cut across different areas and aspects within the organization. So you have to identify what are those objectives that you want to achieve as an organization. And then you have also to identify how and when to implement those plans. So that's why we're talking about short-term plans, mid-term plans, and long-term plans. When do you need some of these things accomplished, and how do you need them accomplished? Then you need to decide on how will you accomplish them. What kind of programs, what kind of action plans, what kind of strategies, policies, and standards will you put in place? One of the things that you need to know, if you have a very good plan, a very good goal, but you lack an action plan on how to achieve it, what will happen is that you'll not be able to achieve that goal. You're going to have something we call a false start. So it's very important to break down your goal or your objective and come up with programs and strategies and policies and action plans on how that goal can be achieved. The next step when you're dealing with planning is to estimate the resources. And when you're thinking about the resources, it's not just the finances. Sometimes we just think resources are finances, yet resources could be the human resource. What kind of skill, expertise will I need for me to have that goal achieved? It could be materials, the equipment, the energy. Resources are of different types. So trying to classify them and trying to estimate the kind of resources that will be required. Then consider the problems that are likely to happen. What are some of the things that are likely to come up as you're executing your plans, and trying to see how do you mitigate them. This is just like playing the devil's advocate of your plans. So yes, you have a plan, but remember, you're not operating in a vacuum. You're operating within an environment, and this environment is extremely dynamic. And because it is a dynamic environment, you have to take care of things that could be happening within that environment and trying to mitigate for any kind of risks that could be happening. And then, of course, just as we had said earlier, evaluate now the different action plans. based on the new information you have about the environment. Maybe as you're doing your plans, you realize, oh, you have a new competitor that you're not taken into consideration earlier. Or probably there's a new target market that maybe you could approach. So you need to evaluate the action plans to be able to incorporate the new knowledge you'll have received by doing a little bit of research, and then revising and adjusting your plans in light of those changes. So what do we say to be the characteristics of a good plan? I know most of you are conversant with the acronym that we say SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and within a time bound. So a good and a sound plan is one that has clearly defined objectives. And a clearly defined objective is one that is specific. Specific in terms of context, specific in terms of scope. What is it that you want to be done? It needs to be measurable. Can you measure it? Can you quantify that? If it is, I want to increase my market share. By what percentage? That is the measurability. By when? That is the aspect of time, which is also measurability. Achievable. We talked about resources. Are you able to achieve that objective with the resources that you have? Is it achievable within the time frame that you have set? And achievable goes alongside realistic. Is it realistic? And is it within some time bound? So that is a clearly defined objective. The next characteristic of a sound plan is that it should be simple and easy to understand. So what we mean by that is that when you're planning, you have different stakeholders. We've said plans can be at the conceptual level, which is at the top management level. They could be at the tactical level and operational level. So the plans start at the conceptual. It is the role of the middle level managers and the supervisors to break it down so that the person who is at the operational level, the person who's supposed to actually do the dirty work, is able to understand the big picture of where the leaders or the managers and perceived that organization to be at. So these plans should be simple and easy to understand by those people who are supposed to implement. Plans should be flexible and adaptable. I think that is one of the things that we talked about in my last slide. Your plans, you're not there to fit or to make sure that you just do your plans. The plans are there to suit your organizational needs. So the plans, the policies, the procedures, the strategies, the action plans are to suit the organizational needs, not the other way around. It's usually very wrong when you hear people talking about just policies without them thinking through, does this policy serve us for the time we are in now? So a policy or a plan, even though it shouldn't be changed too often, it should be flexible enough to be able to adapt to the changes that are happening within the organization and the environment. Plans should be comprehensive in terms of them being able to have the holistic picture of where the organization wants to go. Every organization has something we call the vision and the mission. Plans, those are types of plans. The vision and the mission are types of plans at the conceptual level. So if you're to come up with some tactical or operational plans, they should be in a way that they are comprehensive to be able to take care of the vision of the organization. Plans should also provide standards for evaluation. And this is where we say planning and controlling are two sides of the same coin. So the plans you have should provide the standards. How will we measure that we have achieved our goals? How will we measure that we are being successful? How will we measure that our goals are effectively being met in an efficient manner, we have to have a standard that will help us to measure that. It could be a budget, it could be a strategic plan, things that will tell us that we've actually achieved our goal or how far we are from our goal. Should be economical. We've talked of efficiency. Should be economical in terms of the resources. It should be able to utilize the least resources to achieve the greatest outcome. So we've talked a little bit about the types of plans, conceptual plans, tactical plans, operational plans, but plans can also be long-term, they can be short-term. Long-term, are those that are more than 5 years. And as I said, this should also work for you in your personal life. Do you have some long-term plans? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? That could be your long-term plan. The conceptualizing of the vision of where you want your organization to go. But also we have mid-term plans. Those that are just 3 years or 1 to 3 years. And also, we have not the short-term plan that could be below 1 year. So these are those that are very specific as to what needs to be done from time to time. We also have the strategic plans. Strategic plans are the ones that we always hear organizational members talking about, where they're thinking about the environment. The environment is always changing. The political, economic, social, cultural, technological, legal, and ecological environment. It's always changing. So strategic plans is where you do in terms of the future. You have to evaluate something we call SWOT analysis. Evaluate what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what are the opportunities and threats that are presented by the environment. So you have to look at your internal environment as an organization, as an individual. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses vis-a-vis the opportunities and the threats that are presented by the environment? Then we have the tactical, or what we call operational plans. Tactical plans, if you were to look at the organization as a triangle, the topmost is what we call the conceptual. Then we have the medium, that is the tactical. Then we have the bottom, that is the operational. The tactical, they are the plans that are made by middle-level managers. So the middle-level manager has the role to break down the conceptual long-term plans, the vision of the organization, in a manner that can be understood by the supervisors who are at the lower level. Now, the supervisors who are at the lower level should take the plans from the middle-level managers and break them into day-to-day activities or day-to-day goals that can be able to be achievable at the operational level. So I hope you've understood that you have different types of plans and that you can be able to look at these plans based on who is making them, whether it is the top level management, whether it is the middle level management, or it is the low level management. So why plan? Why do we plan? What is the importance of planning? When you plan, you are able to predict the future. You are able to predict your steps because you are able to break down how you would wish your future to look like. But now you leave it today, you break it down. So the importance of planning, it helps in coordinating efforts. Who does what? When does it get done? How does it get done? When you're able to answer those critical questions, it helps in coordinating efforts. Planning helps in guiding decisions. Sometimes if you don't have a plan, and especially if you're a small business owner or you're an entrepreneur and you have no plans, you have no business plan, and you just get into the business without a business plan, what is likely to happen is that you have to make so many decisions that could be out of your scope. So when you plan ahead of time, you can be able to guide and come up with decisions that are aligned with the vision that you want to achieve. Plans help us to utilize resources effectively, but also efficiently. We are able to save up on our resources and also minimize on wastages, because planning and controlling go hand in hand. So we are able to know where did we go wrong, where did we have wastages, so that we can be able to plan better next time. Planning definitely promotes our corporate image. When we give or when we show our investors our strategic plans, when we have our own business Canva models, when we have our own business plans and we share with our stakeholders or we share with our financiers, they see us to be serious people. So it can actually promote our corporate image by showing the external stakeholders of where we see ourselves in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, etc. So meaning it can also provide a sense of direction and hence reduce uncertainty and risks. Now, in as much as planning is very important, and in as much as it's such a critical role within an organization, it also has some limitations. One of the main limitations is that even though we plan all we want, we have a limitation that we can't be able to accurately predict the future. 2020, we had the entire globe be faced with COVID-19, the coronavirus, that resulted to so many changes in our organization. Not many companies had actually planned for such an eventuality. So the organizations could have forecasted how they're going to maybe expand their businesses into different regional areas. But COVID-19 happened, and all of a sudden, all those plans were rendered irrelevant. So sometimes planning is limited because of that. It's also time consuming, it's costly. Sometimes you might have to hire an expert to be able to guide on how to come up with a plan. So it can be time consuming and costly. It might also be inflexible and rigid. This is where you hear many people talk of what does the policy say, even though the policy is clearly not serving the goals of the organization. It can also cause delays in decision making, especially where things happen that were not thought about. So, ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of our class about the role and the function of planning. I would wish that you reflect more on it, on the different plans that organizations have. If you have an opportunity to peruse on people's strategic plans, organizational strategic plans, so as to be able to understand what is within those plans, please do it. So this marks the end of our first session of management function. We're going to be starting off with the next session on organizing function. Thank you for listening to me. Have a wonderful time.